So Israel, who was also known as Jacob, had 12 sons: Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Asher, Issachar, and Zebulun. And all of them were pretty wild, but the youngest name was Joseph. Now Joseph was faithful to the Lord. Because of this, he became Israel's favorite son, so much so that he gave him a very colorful coat. Now this made Joseph's brothers pretty angry and jealous, so much so that they ended up one day selling him into slavery into Egypt. While in Egypt, Joseph thankfully was liked by his master, so much so that he got a good wage and stuff. However, the master's wife wanted to do something very wrong, and Joseph said no and ran off, despite what the punishment may be. And even though he did end up being wrongfully accused and thrown into jail by the same woman, God saw his effort and his willingness to follow God, and in the end, because those actions still can't avoid consequences, and God knows all of our secrets and longings. But if we do fall into temptation and make a giant mistake, we can always repent. Jesus' atonement can cover our earthly sins, so we can repent, apologize, and try again. Another lesson we can learn is that God is always with us. God didn't abandon Joseph throughout all of his trials, and they were there for each other, even when it was hard. God guided Joseph to a happy ending, even though there were times it may seem that it was never going to come at all. God won't leave us in our trials either. So no matter where you are in your spiritual and mortal journey, turn to God. He is always listening and loving you no matter what. While Joseph was in jail, he managed to impress the prison guard so much that he allowed him to be in charge. While doing so, he helped predict the dreams of two men, which led to the Pharaoh being like, hey, if this prisoner can predict dreams, he can predict my weird dream. And so they let Joseph out to go meet the Pharaoh. And Joseph managed to predict that Egypt will have 7 years of good prosperity and have another 7 years of famine. The Pharaoh listened and put Joseph in charge of storing up the food sources, and that led to Egypt being plentiful during the famine. And in the end, it is very much worth it to keep following God.